Today we're making the summer vegetable stew called Ratatouille. Here are all the summer vegetables, a lot of them from my own garden. Let's get into it right now. All right, so we're gonna go over all the ingredients here for Ratatouille. We always like to do this in the beginning so you know exactly how to make the recipe. Initially, I cut up 2 medium eggplants. You need just about 1 pound here. Really, for any of these vegetables, you don't have to be exact. If you buy a large eggplant in the store, it'll equal roughly those 2 that I used here. I showed what is supposedly a male and a female, though that's just a myth. They both have the same amount of seeds, which is a fairly good amount. We also have zucchini and yellow squash. I took 2 medium zucchini and 1 yellow squash, but you could reverse that, or you could just use all green zucchini. You could use all yellow squash, and I cut them roughly into about a 1/2 inch thick. We also have onions. I took 1 large red onion. The recipe calls for 2 bell peppers. It says use 1 green and 1 yellow or red. The green one was for my garden, which was fairly small. When you grow your own stuff, you're gonna notice you don't get the Gigantosaurus vegetables that are sold in the store all the time. So what I did was I took a 3rd pepper here. So I have 3 of my size peppers, but in the store, 2 bell peppers will probably be more than enough for you. Dry pint of cherry tomatoes, which is equal to 12 ounces of cherry tomatoes. That's how much I have here. The cherry tomatoes are from my garden, and the grape tomatoes are from the store. They taste the same. They're good. They're great for this. In addition to that tomato, we're gonna do 3 ounces of tomato paste, which is probably the rest of this tube that I have. I have 8 cloves of garlic. I love a lot of garlic in my food. The traditional Ratatouille might not have that much, but I think it'll be really nice. And I chopped it kind of coarsely there. I think it's gonna be really delicious to get a piece of it as you're eating it with all these big vegetables that are all chopped fairly coarsely too. So these are the herbs that I have here. We're gonna cook with thyme, and then basil we will put in to finish it, though you could also use parsley. And then for the flavoring agents, besides the onion and garlic, we have hot red pepper. That's a 1/2 teaspoon. I have 1/2 cup of dry white wine. That's Sauvignon Blanc. We're gonna use a lot of olive oil here, or extra virgin olive oil that I have, but you can use either or. And then I have red wine vinegar. We're gonna use about 3 tablespoons, maybe 1/4 cup of it. And that'll give a really nice balance to what essentially is a pretty boring dish. So I think this and the wine are gonna be the game changer here. If you find a recipe that doesn't have that, it will be fairly boring. Because essentially then all it is just cooking vegetables without a lot of flavor. So trust me on this. Let's get into searing that eggplant right now. Okay, so we have right here, this is like a 4-quart nonstick pan. Better would be a Dutch oven. Really the reason I'm using this here is so you can see better in here. But if you're cooking by yourself at home and you're not making a video, use your Dutch oven. I'm gonna turn this heat to about a 6 out of 10, just a little bit more than medium. And we're gonna do our eggplant first, because eggplant will be the one that will give you the hardest time. So this isn't really like a long cooked stew or anything. So we kind of want to retain the shape of these vegetables. We don't want it to be like a complete mush. For the eggplant, we really could be using regular olive oil, which is what I should have done instead of extra virgin. I'll put both in there. We want to get this eggplant close to done right now, because if it's not done and then you make your dish and you have that rubbery eggplant, nobody's going to like it. We're pushing the limits, but should be okay as long as we get contact on all the eggplant pieces. We have 14 eggplant plants. Some of them are this big, some of them are fairly large. Really, no matter what stage I pick them at, they have a lot of seeds. And today, for the people that believe in that male-female, which is a joke to begin with, there's no difference. There's seeds. Very frustrating things on the internet that are completely wrong and then everybody thinks are right. Most recent podcast was about busting food myths.
There's a lot of them.
All right, so we're gonna let this go for like 5 minutes. See how it's absorbed all the oil. There is no oil at all in here right now. You can add a little bit more if you want, but it'll be fine. All right, and I turned it over a little bit, but it's only been about 4 minutes, so they need a lot more. Try to get as best you can, and really you probably wanna do 2 batches here. If you have like the brown side like this, see how it gets very brown there? I don't know if you can see that. So now I want to get it on the side that didn't get brown. That's what I want to have contact with the pan. You really have to get it cooked. You can't just cook this for a few minutes and then do the rest of your dish and expect the eggplant to work. It just won't. Your whole dish will be ruined.
Jim, could you roast the eggplant?
Yeah, I think that would be a simple way to do it, because then people could roast it and already then be onto their zucchini and stuff while that's going on. Very beautiful color. Some pieces maybe got a little too brown, but it's really not a problem. It's good and it's a lot of flavor. Now, you still need to check though if they're done. Some of the pieces won't be done. See, like right here, I'm touching this one and my fork is not going through. Check all your pieces. If it's like one or two, then it doesn't matter. Like, see this one right through, okay? Right through, super soft, right through. Normally it'll be like, there'll be a few that give you a problem. You can remove them, or you can keep trying to cook everything. Another trick is just to put some water in here. Just splash like a couple ounces, cover it. That will tend to accelerate the process a little bit more. But we got it to where we want, which is 80% done, like 80, 85% done. We're gonna take this all out. We'll turn our heat to a little bit lower now, probably about a 4 out of 10. And I'm just gonna put all these in that same bowl. Right away now, a tiny bit more extra virgin or regular, whatever, we're going to do our squash. Now these don't have to get as much color or cook through. I mean, you can eat these raw if you want, as the eggplant did. What I want to do with the eggplant while it's still super steamy is take some salt and just toss that around. And I didn't talk to you really about size here. So you'll see some recipes where everything's very small, some where it's very big, like these are very big. What I did was, because the yellow squash are like a pear, they're like, you know, skinny on top and then fat on the bottom. So the bottom part, this one, I cut them into like half moons, but then the top part, like this, I left whole. I mean, I think it makes sense. You really just want to make all your pieces kind of uniform. So these pieces are fairly large, the eggplant pieces, the peppers, the onions, etc. And ideally, yeah, larger pan or multiple pans would have been better. Maybe 6 minutes total in here on this. Some of them are brown, some of them, but not most. Let's just put it right back in our bowl that we used for them. Okay, same pan again, a little bit more oil. You're noticing a pattern here, right? So now we're gonna get real crazy. We're gonna do the onion and the peppers at the same time. And listen, I'm making a little joke about Chef Jean-Pierre. I know he says that all the time. We often get comments in our channel that will say, like, you didn't put the onion in first, so that's the only reason why I say it. Chef Jean-Pierre is a great chef. Okay, so we're gonna let these get a little soft too. These are peppers and onions. I think these could go a little bit more on the softer side. So let's give these about 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes on about medium heat. That looks pretty good. You know, we're gonna be letting this cook for about 20 minutes, all the vegetables together. So I'm gonna make a little room in the center there. I like to do that. I'm gonna put all that garlic in there, kind of in the center. Maybe a little bit more olive oil on top of that garlic, just to really pull that flavor out of it right now. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I had the garlic on one side. You can see that nice golden color now on it. I'm gonna mix it all together now. I have a half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. If you want this to be, I guess, more boring, then don't put it in, but I think you should. Just mix that in there, into the oil, and I'm gonna put in 3 ounces of tomato paste. If you watch this channel, you know I always use cans. They're much easier to use. They're much cheaper. This thing is like the same price as like 12 cans from Costco. This is gonna dramatically boost the flavor than just using the fresh tomatoes. If you start to burn it all, take a little bit of water, just turn it on, splash it in. You can lift your pan up, go like that, and then you're set. I have the cherry tomatoes, about 12 ounces of them. Just gonna put them in there. I'm not even cutting them in half. You can do that, but along those lines, I want my vegetables and everything to retain some of their shape. And then I have half a cup of dry white wine. This is Sauvignon Blanc. And I'm just gonna turn the heat on this to almost high, about an 8 out of 10. I just wanna boil off some of that liquid and get these cherry tomatoes started a little bit. I'm gonna let this go for just a couple minutes. That's our consistency. Lower the heat down to about a 4 out of 10, okay? Many of you have asked me about the basil. It looked really good a couple weeks ago. You can see right now, it doesn't look that good. What I did yesterday is I chopped it off completely, okay? I'm gonna get new growth here. I'm gonna simulate new growth, and I'm gonna fertilize. So even basil needs to be fertilized. Once it starts to not be green anymore, you can do that. It's not a matter of not, under or over watering. Just sometimes you need a little bit in there. So this is still fine to use right now. This is great. And this is the type of basil you would use to make pesto genovese. This is Emerald Towers, and these are great too. Typically you wouldn't use this for pesto, but it would be great for what we're doing right now. So I'm just gonna clip some off. These are in a shaded position because these type of herbs do better when you don't have full sun. And then that is great time. Like I said, I'll take those weeds out, rinse this off, and then we'll tie this up and put it in our ratatouille. And by the way, I wear Crocs. I have multiple pairs and colors. Deal with it. The recipe has 1 cup of vegetable stock, which is optional, or you could use water. And that's gonna depend on how much liquid your vegetables leave off, and how liquidy you want it. Add the eggplant back in. Okay, and all the squash and the zucchini. So I'm gonna say right here, I'm gonna put in about 1/2 cup of water. We'll season up our veggies more. I don't know if I said before, like every time you do like the eggplant, squash, all of them, when they come out, you just salt them so everything has a good amount of seasoning. All right, this is just red wine vinegar. You could use sherry vinegar, you could use probably apple cider vinegar. If you use balsamic vinegar, it's gonna change the flavor dramatically. It'll be delicious, but it'll be different. You'll be getting away from like that sweet and sour, and you'll just be getting more into like sweet and sweet. Again, let this cook for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, around there. I probably, because this isn't cooking a long time, I shouldn't have tied the thyme like that. So I'll just leave that in. I'm just adding more now. I'm just gonna strip it from the branch. All right, maybe a teaspoon or 2 of this thyme. All right, that's done. I mean, this looks incredible. So it'd be great with a baguette, obviously. We're making French food. I'm checking for like salt levels and maybe a little bit of pepper. Vinegar level 2. See there. Touch more maybe, but I think 3 tablespoons is a good amount. We're gonna put basil on it now. This is the same basil from the garden, but I just had it in water. It's very like vibrant and alive. So, use as much as you want here. I have a recipe, I have 1/4 cup of packed leaves, which I don't think anybody's gonna complain with having too much basil. All right, and we're gonna have the tower, the taste tester. Try it. Hey.
Hi.
Okay, do you want a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on it?
Sure.
I think, we used a lot of oil in here already, but I think this will just improve the situation. Put it on top of the bread too. And there.
It smells wonderful.
It needs a good amount of salt, so you tell me that, you criticize it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to try and get a little bite of each vegetable so I can try each one. Oh, wow. This is so good. It tastes like summer. It tastes like the garden. The eggplant for me was the best of the vegetables.
Doesn't surprise me because I fried that and
It's very rich. The tomatoes would be my next favorite. I love this, but I love all of them. This is definitely a side dish for me.
I'll tell you why it's not a main course. Though it can be. When I write up recipes, we do all the nutritional information accurately. So once I added in all that olive oil, then it went up to like 300 calories per serving. You'd have to eat this whole entire thing. You're right to say it's a side dish with like a piece of grilled chicken.
A simple piece of grilled whitefish, like a bronzino or something like that, with this and maybe like a really young white crisp wine.
Sounds good.
Sauvignon Blanc would be like a perfect summer meal to eat outside, and it's absolutely lovely.
Do you think it needs more vinegar, or do you think it needs sugar? I didn't put any sugar.
No, I don't think it needs vinegar or
These
sugar.
often, all the Italian versions of this, whether it's ciabatta or peperonata, they all use a sugar to vinegar combination. This I didn't. I just did the vinegar. So I wondered, do I need sugar in here?
No, but I realize that I like things that are not as sweet. Besides ice cream, which I love. But no, I mean, I don't think this needs any sugar.
Okay.
There's wonderful, wonderful flavors from each of the vegetable components. I don't think sugar is needed. So in the world of side dishes, I would give it a 10 out of 10 because I will tell you why.
I'll take it.
I can't think of anything I would do to improve this particular dish, and has more depth to it than many other vegetable side dishes that you can make. So, I mean, this is outstanding.
So you like it, huh?
It's so good.
Good.